Natural satellites of planets are mystic and amazing celestial bodies. They revolve around the planets and can differ in numbers. A planet can have no moon like Mercury and Venus in our solar system, while others can have a large number of them like Jupiter, which possess 79 of them. While some moons are amazing, others can be mysterious and strange too. Saturn's strange moon, IAPETUS, was discovered more than 300 years ago in 1671 by astronomer Giovanni Cassini. Even then, he realized that half of the moon is dark. Of course, he couldn't explain it then, and it took more than 3 centuries for science to unravel the mystery. IAPETUS's orbital path passes through one of Saturn's rings made from dark red dust, which lands on the moon's surface, causing more than half of the planet's darker color. Even a cursory glance at Saturn's moon IAPETUS reveals it to be an oddball. It is two-toned, one half is black, the other shining white, and strangely shaped, flattened at the poles and squashed at the sides as well. A ridge runs halfway around its equator, giving it the appearance of a walnut shell. The dark stuff on IAPETUS is very black indeed, but it forms only a thin veneer less than a meter thick. It covers the moon's leading hemisphere, the side that faces forward as it moves in its orbit, which suggests that the black material has been swept up from space as the moon moves around Saturn. This substance may originally have been ejected from the small, dark outer moons of Saturn during impacts with space debris. Sunlight has sharpened the contrast on IAPETUS by heating the dark areas so that any ice sublimates away. The water vapor then drifts around the moon, where it freezes on the colder trailing half, whitewashing it with a layer of frost. The shape is harder to explain. Perhaps when the moon was young, molten, and spinning rapidly, it was naturally distorted by its motion. The ingredients of IAPETUS are also peculiar. Its low density implies that it is about 80% ice to only 20% rock, a far lighter mixture than other large moons. Jupiter's moon Io is subjected to tremendous gravitational forces that cause its surface to bulge up and down by as much as 330 feet. This is the reason why Io is the most volcanically active body in the solar system, with hundreds of volcanoes, some erupting lava fountains dozens of miles high. Pockmarked with sulfurous pits, bathed in intense radiation, and shaken by constant volcanic eruptions, Io is the fiery hell of the solar system. Despite being cold enough to be covered in layers of sulfur dioxide frost, this large inner moon of Jupiter is the most volcanic world known, spitting out 100 times as much lava as all Earth's volcanoes can muster. Io's surface is dotted with bubbling lakes of molten rock, the largest of which, Patera, is more than 200 kilometers across. Elsewhere, magma suddenly forces its way out of fissures in the rocky crust, creating lines of lava fountains that can stretch for 50 kilometers or more. NASA's New Horizons spacecraft picked up the heat from one of these great curtains of fire in 2007 as the probe passed by Jupiter en route to Pluto. The Saturn moons, Pan and Atlas, are the smallest moons in the solar system. However, despite their size, their influence can be seen clearly from Earth in the form of the prominent gap they create in the planet's ring system. These two tiny worlds are perhaps the best-known examples of shepherd moons, small satellites that orbit in or around the ring systems of the giant planets. As the name suggests, when coupled with the influence of distant outer moons, such satellites help to herd the particles orbiting in the ring system together while clearing out others. Jupiter's moon Ganymede is proving to be a fascinating world. Not only is it the largest moon in our solar system, bigger than the planet Mercury and the dwarf planet Pluto, but NASA's Hubble Space Telescope has found the best evidence yet for an underground saltwater ocean on Ganymede. The ocean is thought to have more water than all the water on Earth's surface. Ganymede's ocean is estimated to be 60 miles thick, 10 times deeper than Earth's ocean, and is thought to be buried under a 95-mile thick crust of mostly ice. Identifying liquid water is crucial in the search for habitable worlds beyond Earth and in the search for life as we know it. Ganymede is the only moon known to have its own magnetic field, a discovery made by NASA's Galileo spacecraft in 1996. The magnetic field causes auroras, which are ribbons of glowing, hot, electrified gas in regions circling the north and south poles of the moon. Because Ganymede is close to Jupiter, its magnetic field is embedded in, or lies within, Jupiter's magnetic field. Miranda is the smallest and innermost of Uranus' 5 spherical satellites, often known as Uranus V. Voyager images revealed an extraordinary patchwork of terrains, seemingly put together at random. Some parts are heavily cratered and some relatively uncratered, indicating their youth as they have been less exposed to bombardment. An early theory to explain Miranda's jumbled appearance is that it is a Frankenstein world, a collection of fragments from a predecessor moon that coalesced in orbit around Uranus. Astronomers wondered whether Miranda's predecessor might have been shattered by an interplanetary impact, and whether this cataclysmic event might somehow be linked to Uranus' own extreme tilt. Further studies, however, have shown that such a theory comes up short when trying to explain Miranda's mix of surface features, and the right kind of impact is unlikely. Instead, it seems plausible that tidal forces are to blame. Today, Miranda follows an almost circular orbit, but in the past its orbit was in a resonant relationship with the larger moon, Umbriel. This brought the two moons into frequent alignments that pulled Miranda's orbit into an elongated ellipse that experienced extreme tidal forces. Pushed, pulled, and heated from within, its surface fragmented and rearranged itself before the moons moved again and Miranda's activity subsided. Hyperion is the largest of Saturn's irregular, no spherical moons. It is the strangest-looking moon in the solar system, its surface resembling a sponge or coral with deep, dark pits rimmed by razor-sharp ridges of brighter rock and ice. But that's not the only thing that's strange about Hyperion. Like all moons in the outer solar system, it's mostly made of water ice, but its surface is unusually dark. When Cassini flew past, it measured its density to be 55% that of water. Its interior is mostly empty space. Rather than matching its rotation to its orbital period, it spins in a chaotic pattern, with its axis of rotation wobbling unpredictably. One popular theory to explain these weird features is that Hyperion is the surviving remnant of a larger satellite that once orbited between Titan and IAPETUS, and which was largely destroyed by a collision with a large comet. Material that survived in a stable orbit then came together again to create Hyperion as we know it. Callisto is Jupiter's second largest moon and the third largest moon in our solar system. After being one of 4 moons discovered orbiting a different planet to Earth in 1610 by Galileo, Callisto provided understanding into the workings of the solar system and how the Sun is at its center rather than the Earth. It is the outermost Jovian moon and has been constantly battered by asteroid impacts, making it the most cratered body in our solar system. Due to a lack of geologic activity, the moon is unable to replenish its surface, displaying craters as old as 4 billion years, making Callisto the oldest landscape in the solar system. The second moon of Jupiter looks only mildly interesting on the surface. At least it's not another boring, rocky, crater-infested, airless dead world like so many other moons of the solar system. So it has that going for it. Instead, its surface is coated entirely by a shell of thick water ice, cross-grassed with cracks and grooves. But what makes Europa really stand out is that the icy shell is just that, A shell. Under 100 miles of rock-hard ice sits a vast liquid water ocean, girdling the entire moon, reaching down to a depth of more than 50 kilometers. Europa is home to more liquid water than the Earth. If there's a chance for life in the solar system other than our home planet, then it's Europa. The largest moon of Saturn is shrouded in a thick, hazy atmosphere, an atmosphere even thicker than Earth's. And underneath those hazy skies, we find a rich system of lakes, rivers, streams, and more. But not of water, but liquid methane. At a temperature of less than 200 degrees below zero, it's far too cold for water to stay liquid out here. But methane is totally happy, and Titan is the only world in the solar system, other than our dear old Earth, to host liquids of any kind on its surface. That's right, the moon, our moon. Besides the only moon in the solar system to be visited by humans, the moon really stands out in the solar system. Earth is the only inner rocky planet to host a moon, and it's a big one. Besides the Pluto-Charon system, it's the largest moon in proportion to its host planet. What really makes our moon unique than the other moons is its creation. Scientists think that we got our moon when a giant Mars-sized planet crashed into the Earth when it was still forming, sending chunks of that collision into orbit. Besides its fascinating history, the moon is also responsible for half the tides on the Earth, helping to keep our axial tilt stable and allowing us to get those spectacular solar eclipses. That's all time we have for today's video, 10 weirdest moons of the solar system. Like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you won't miss any updates.